2024 Mathews Lyft. This thing's incredible. Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. MFJJ here with PodiumArcher.com, looking at the new Mathews Lyft 29.5. Now, when I say this thing is amazing, I only say that from the standpoint of the published specs that they're giving us, and we're going to see if they're really giving us that accurate information. This bow is claiming to be 348 feet a second, 3.99 pounds. I'm going to say that again, 3.99 pounds on an aluminum riser bow that has a 29.5-inch riser, I'm pretty sure. I've never seen a bow this light that actually has that long of mass. 29.5-inch axle to axle and a 6-inch brace height. Very, very feature filled, most of which is carryover from previous years, but they still have the rubber in between the limbs and a matched 8 set of limbs. They have this new assembly that was first on the titles that is a bolt over system instead of a through the limb system. So you end up with, in my opinion, a much more rigid, durable, stable system. Should give you a bit more of a stable shooting platform. Completely new cam system, 100%. It's the first time they've changed this cam in, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, which is where they're getting their speed from. It does not take the same modules, completely new modules. It has the stay afield system on it. Is a little more aggressive, and we'll give you some feedback in that when we actually shoot it. This riser has had so much metal cut out of it, it's crazy. There is, like, I don't know where else you could cut metal out of it, to be honest. One of the bigger things that they did that you will notice unless you're looking, come up to, I don't know if you can get it from the light position. Let me move it like that. That's the limb bolt. There's almost no limb bolt in this bow. And when I first saw one of these, I didn't realize what was underneath, but when I went through the factory, I saw it. That riser actually goes way out into the pocket. So it goes out to about where my fingernail is. So there's a decent amount of thread assembly in here to where you can still adjust the limb bolts, but they removed the turret and the bolt that's normally that long and moved it down to that long. So you've reduced weight there. The limb pocket's different. The same engaged limb leg does not fit on this bow. You have to have a new limb leg, which is also smaller, lighter, and skinnier. Still has the bridge lock riser sight option, still has the new integration, and there is a new integrated launcher on the QAD that comes on the Mathews rest and the QAD ones. That's new for this year, little rubber insert. Nice plus, nice addition to where you don't have to keep the fuzz on it. Does still take the SCS system, which is on this bow. They sent this bow with this rest and those parts on there. Yeah, just really blown away by what I'm seeing. I just really hope the numbers stand up to what they're saying. So they also did add shot sense, which is going to be out here pretty quick, I think in the next couple months. And that's what goes in this grip. You can remove this grip and put a app-controlled electronic sensor in your riser that gives you direct feedback from what you're shooting. It shows you what your group movement looks like, shows you your torque, your response. For those of you that really want to nerd out on your shooting ability and your consistency, it's a really great part. It does replace this grip. And from what I'm told, they didn't specify, but I'm pretty sure it's UltraView. We'll be making a grip compatible with the shot sense as well. So good on you for that option. So let's measure some of this stuff and see if it's living up to the hype that I've been given. All right, we're going to check axle to axle, and it's supposed to be 29.5. So we'll go this way, go from the front edge here to the far edge there. Spot on 29.5. Brace height's supposed to be 6 inches. And maybe a little shy. If you took the grip off, it would measure 6. By not even a 32nd. It's really close. I'm going to call it 6. It's super close. But if anything, it's a little shy if you measure into the back of the grip. Riser length overall from pivot point is 29 3/4. So the overall pivot point position of this bow is actually longer than the axle to axle. So the limbs are already parallel. Let's see here. Let's check physical weight. Now, we may just go through. Oh, thank you, reflex geometry. Appreciate it. Forgot that. If I can get through here on this. Yeah. Oh, there's my tape. Looks like right at 2 inch. Yeah, 2 inches reflex. For a 6-inch brace height bow, that's not terribly bad. Let's check our physical weight now. I may, if it looks like it's not coming in close to what they say it is, I'm going to unbolt this stuff and confirm it. And I'm only doing that because this is such an extreme change. I want to make sure that we're being honest with what it is. So this has a rest on it. This has the dampener on it. This has the SCS system on it already, which all will add weight. So let's see what we come up with for this 3.99 bow. And it's coming at 4.3 to 4.2. So this bow is probably 3.99 pounds with the dampener. Between that and the SCSs, that's probably 0.2 of a pound, I'm willing to bet. So this is absolutely accurate on the weight, which it feels that light. It's just, it's hard to believe that you can have a bow with that long of a riser weigh that light that isn't made of carbon. This is aluminum. And I gave them a ration about not making a carbon bow, and their response was, we don't think you can make a carbon bow as good as you can make an aluminum bow, so we're not going to make one. So we'll see if that holds true over time, but let's see what we got for weight here, and then we'll check our draw length. Okay, it's a little heavy. Back that down a touch. Here we go. Now, I've never backed one of these down, so I don't know how fast the poundage is going to move. I may have just like way overshot it because of how steep that limb angle is, but we'll find out. Yep. So 3/4 of a turn was 6 pounds. So, moral of the story, doesn't take a lot of limb bolt movement, which doesn't shock me because this limb angle is so steep. That's changing that pressure just drastically every time you touch it. Oh, another thing that I should add, this new system here on both bows. There you go, 70.5, tiny bit heavy. This new limb system, or this new cam system on both of these bows, offers you an 80-pound option now. And I want to say the minimum one is 55. Let me check here real quick. I'll give you good information here. All right, you can get this bow in a 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, and 80, all on switch weight modules. So that means you can change your mind in the future, and it doesn't cost you $300 to change the limbs. Draw length spectrum is 24.5 to 30 inches on this bow. So that covers a really big range and a massive amount of weight range. Now, I cringe because I got to carry all the modules, but that does mean that you can fit all those spectrums in one setup. I mean, nobody's offering that. Nobody has that. I'm assuming it's probably a patented thing or something that they don't have to do. Jeez. Man, these things move a lot over a little. Trying to get this thing set at exact 70 is going to be hard. But I'll get it within 0.2, I promise. One way or another. 70.3. I'm so close. Okay. Maybe if I breathe on it. That's probably too much already. We'll see. 70.2. There you go. All right. Let's see what our draw length measures out to be. Okay. All right. So this is a tiny bit long. I'd put it at 30 1/8 to the pivot point in the bolt hole, which we only started measuring this year, and most of these bows, when I would check them last year, was almost a 1/2 inch long. So that's a massive improvement from where they were before, but it's still a tiny bit long. But hey, at least you got it close. Okay, this is a Lyft 29.5, 70 pounds, 30 inches, 350 grain arrows. This is my first feel here. That honestly does not pull hard. Like, I have a hard time believing this thing's going to hit speed because it doesn't pull hard. Bow feels very, very nice, very dead, very quick to drop off any resignation that you feel. Once again, for a really light bow, that's kind of a surprise. I would think there'd be a little more vibration, but the tool will tell us. Yeah, just feels good. This bow does not, I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy, but this doesn't feel like it would shoot that speed. It pulls too easy, and there's not a big hump in the back end. Now, these are 85% mods because that's what they have so far. They don't have the 80s out yet. They will. And that will shoot a little slower because of that. It's somewhere between 3 and 4 feet usually. So we'll keep that in comparison. All right, let's test our vibrations. $10.91. $10.50. $16.41. That's way out of whack. Better shoot one more just to check and see if that's a fluke. Make sure everything's snug. No. $12.83. So we'll give you an 11. All right, Lyft 29.5, 30 inches, 70 pounds, 350 grain arrow, 85%. Looking for 348. 334. That was a weird one. 326. That don't sound right. I didn't shoot that down the middle. 332. 332. 330. So what was the first one? Was 334?
The first one of these three was 335, 336.
Okay.
334, 335.
I think it was 334. Yeah. In fact, I know it's 334. So we got a 334, 332, and I'm going to reshoot this one that I didn't get down the middle. Okay. So I don't know how much you've played with the chronograph, folks, but if you don't shoot right down the middle, you'll get weird readings sometimes. So again, this is the arrow that I shot. 331. So we'll give you a 333 average on that. All right. 450 grain arrows, 70 pounds, 30 inches, 29.5 lift, 85%. 295. $297. $295. So I'll give you a 295, 296 average. 296. And then 550s. $269. 270. $272. All right, 269, 270, 272. So we'll give you a 270 there. All right, now on the speed, if this was 80%, which is an option they provide, and where they test that bow, it should be 4 feet a second faster. I don't have that module to check it, but I do have to take that into account in this thought of this being 337 feet a second if you add the 4 feet to our average speed with 80%. Okay, draw cycle for it being a more aggressive bow. It still feels incredibly smooth to me. I can't give it a 5 because it's not the easiest pulling thing I've ever seen, but a 4 for sure. The grip I am not a fan of at all. It's rounded, it's contoured. There's lots of good options out there, including their own 2-piece grip option, which they do make now for that bow. They didn't before, so I'm still going to give you a 3 on the grip because I just don't care for the rounded. But there are some options. I'd almost give you a 3.5 on that. Back wall is great. It's solid. It's hard as a rock. You can't argue that. Balance is actually incredibly good. Now that the mass is out of that bow, it actually feels incredibly well balanced to me. I'll give you a 4. I can't give you a 5 because it is a tiny bit top heavy. All right, weight, 3.99 pounds. You're getting a 5. Axle to axle for the size and dimension that it is, and the environment that you're typically going to use that bow in, you're going to want a shorter bow and an incredibly long riser for that axle to axle. I'm giving you a 5. Brace height was not perfect. If you took the grip off, it would be, so I got to mark you down a little bit for that, but a 6-inch brace height bow on that axle to axle, that platform, it's really not a bad thing. Your draw length was only 1/8 of an inch long, but it's not perfect, so I can't give you that. 2-inch reflex on that platform. I'd like to see it less, but a 2-inch isn't bad for a 6-inch. For that brace height of bow, that axle, that dimension, that speed, I'll give you 4s there. The speed is 1 foot off of within the 10 feet, so I can't give you a super high mark. However, this bow is really fast. Like comparatively speaking, it's not the fastest bow we tested, but it's definitely the best feeling bow that we have tested at that speed. So I'm going to give you a 4 there. I want to give you a 5, honestly, but I can't because you're too far off of what you're advertising and what I'm getting. Tunability, the top hat system does work really well. It's not the easiest thing in the world to use. And outside of that, there's not really any other way to tune that bow other than the top hats. There's not an easy use system for integrating in and out. That being said, when I do wheeling tests, theirs seems to move a little less than the others that are offering spacers and whatnot. So I'm going to... Let me come back to that.
It's a pretty rock solid system, isn't
it? It works really well. Like it's never going to fail. I'm going to give you a 3 because out of the shim adjustable systems, which is basically what a top hat is, it's an improvement over a shim. It's a better system in that regard. The movement is minimal. Like when you move from one to the next, it doesn't move the wheel that much, so you can still get finite adjustments. It's just not super easy, but it does allow the bow to be tuned well. It should be easier to use with a little bit more variety, and you get a much better mark. But I'll give you a 3. I was thinking between 2 and 3. Features. So let's take a look here. You have an integrated sight. You have an integrated rest. You have, honestly, probably the lightest, best functioning quiver options that are specific for a bow, hands down. Really cool system there. No other bow allows you to change the weight by module. That's a pretty big deal. It makes it really easy for the consumer to be able to change in the future if he wants to go to a lighter weight, heavier weight, or she. SCS options, string assist for pulling off your string. I mean, there's a lot of additional features incorporated in this bow. Shot sense, I mean, I can't not give you a 5. The only thing this bow doesn't do that I've seen other bows do is have an integrated V-bar bracket. That's it. Other than that, they're doing way more than anybody else by far, so I'm still giving you a 5, even though you don't have a V-bar bracket, because you're offering 3 or 4 things that nobody else is offering, which is pretty freaking cool. Vibration on a bow that weighs less than 4 pounds, coming in at 11. It's not the lowest number, but for the fact that this bow is as light as it is, coming in with that number, I'm giving you a 5. Like, I don't think you can make a sub 4 pound bow lower than that. Now, until somebody does, I'm gonna have to stick with that number because I've tried other bows under 4 and they are all in the teens or 12 and above. Now, all this extra machining out of this bow, right? A lot of cuts, a lot of recession of material, a massive amount, right? They raised the price 30 bucks. The machine time on this bow is excessively higher. To only raise it 30 bucks, that price right there for this bow, considering the only way you're going to get something this light is carbon, and every other carbon bow is $1,600 and more that I know of. I'm not going to count Bowtech's, what do they call that bow? It's not the Icon, it's the, whatever, their price point bow, that's not a carbon bow. So sorry, I'm not calling it that.
Match strings as well.
Yeah, you're getting a 5. And the strings that come on all the new bows are match grade strings. They are a high grade string, like $150 to $200 grade of string, which in the past, these have not had a great string on them. So all of that you're getting, it's a lot. Like you're getting a lot for this bow, like a lot. That is a very fair price. I'm giving you a 5 on price. Let's see what we come up with here. Okay, 5, 10, 15, 23, 26, 30. Giving you a 30 on the high. 5, 9, 12, 16, 26, 30. 30 and a 30. So, to recap, there are a couple of things that really hurt the score where it could have been better. There's a ton of people out there that would agree with this mark right here that don't like the grip. There's not more bows on the market with more aftermarket grip options, and it's for the reality that a lot of people don't like it. I'd like to give them a better mark there, but I need some kind of square edges in there personally. And there's a bit of recession where my thumb touches the underneath side of it that I don't really care for. And the draw cycle would never get to be a 5 and get that speed, so you're not going to get that out of there. And the balance is really good. If the grip was just a little higher in position to things, I think you could probably get that to a 5 pretty easily, but a 4 is a really good mark there. Make your bow a little more tunable, a little more user-friendly to adjust the tuning, and you're going to have stellar marks there and come out exact. And you're going to get that little less reflex, and you'll be the best ranked bow I've got. But all in all, this bow is incredible. Like if you go to a store, pick this up and pick something else up and hold them next to each other. For an aluminum bow, that is the lightest thing I have felt that's legitimately rigid with length. You need to check this bow out. It is quite impressive. And no, they're not paying me. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for being really positive on Mathews, but you cannot, in good conscience, look at what they did this year in comparison to most of the other ones you're seeing and not be relatively ecstatic. There is a ton of change in this bow, more than I've seen in any other. All right, so I know it's Mathews, and I know people, kind of bash on that for one reason or another. I don't know why, but they consistently put out really good product. So please check it out. Be fair with what you think. This thing's pretty amazing. Appreciate you watching.